Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dennis Nickens, aka Spiritual Romeo, and I am coming to you guys today because I am having an amazing conversation with my beloved sister, Tosha Bell. I've been knowing Derek for a long time, and this is his queen. And my sister is a professional in the educational field. So my desire is to really build our children up and really point them in the right direction as it pertains to their destiny. So what I want to do, I want my sister to really tell us a little bit about herself and just be able to have a conversation between me and her for us to really direct you in a way for which our kids would go. So Tasha, tell us a little bit about our sister.
Oh, well, hello, Tosha Bell here. Let's say, well, first and foremost, I am a believer of the Most High, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Been a Christian and a devout servant my entire life. I am from Dallas, Texas. I currently reside in a suburb of Dallas, Texas, which is Cedar Hill. I have been a licensed cosmetologist for 17 years. I have been in the field of education for 14 years. I am a wife of an amazing husband, Derek Bell, and collectively, altogether, we have 6 children. So that's a little bit about me. I have, just loved my educational journey in the field of education. I started out volunteering. That turned into substitute teaching. And now I have been teaching full time as a certified classroom teacher for 7 years.
Beautiful, beautiful. What made you decide to go into the field of education, become a teacher?
Well, having my salon and being in the field of cosmetology, Monday was my off day. And so I chose that day to go in and diligently support my children's classroom. So I would go in as their volunteer. And then after probably about 1 year of volunteering, they coerced me, I like to say, into becoming a substitute. Their thing was, hey, look, you come on Mondays, and when we need assistance or help with anything, you always come up and volunteer. So why don't you just sign up as a sub? Little did I know, it was, well, hey, I'm going to be off on Tuesday. Do you think you could, push your appointments back to come in? And I started going in and then substitute teaching. Well, I absolutely fell in love with it. Watching those students read, being able to tutor them, watching them grow and develop, I just fell in love with teaching and decided to go to school and get my degree in education.
Beautiful, beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful. Man, that is amazing. Love to hear the story. So, what is your teaching style? As you know, you have different kids that have come different areas. So what's your style as far as making sure you point the kids in the right direction? What's your style?
Oh, project-based learning. PBL. I absolutely love project-based learning. So project-based learning is a real-world approach to education. So especially in the low-income areas, you teach them to use their life skills. You teach them to use the things that are around them to grow, develop, and to create projects to help them learn the particular TEK or assignment that they need to know for that 6 weeks period.
Okay.
So an example of that would be, I am now a 6th grade science teacher, and we were working on the solar system, and they needed to create the earth. Well, before we actually went into the physical aspect of making the earth, we then went and learned about our earth. What encompasses the earth? How many bodies of water? How many countries? How many continents? What about the pollution that surrounds our earth? How do we recycle? So we learned all of these things about the earth, and then went into their neighborhood. What do they see in their neighborhood, in their environment, that affects our earth? How can we change that? So now they've learned about it. Then they will watch a video They would do a written composition of it, and then we would physically create the earth. So they would use recyclable items, newspapers, magazine articles, but they had to talk about the earth. So they had to look for those articles that talked about the earth, that talked about their neighborhood, whether that be violence. So, whether that be positive things. Then we will bring all that together. Tell me how we can change our environment that we're in. How can we change the earth? So now they bring items from home, flour, paint, food coloring, and now we physically create and make the earth, color it, shape it, and then they have a physical property of the earth that they take home, that we've let dry, that they can have. So it becomes tangible. So not only did they learn the aspects of their environment, now they have a tangible piece and a written piece to go home and reflect with. So I absolutely love project-based learning. I do it with science, social studies, reading, all of the subjects with math. We do project-based learning.
Wow. So that sounds interesting.
Mhm.
It seemed like when I went to school, which was a long time ago, that's not gonna.
Makes it fun.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I guess there's a difference in, I guess you can tell the kids who come from more affluent neighborhoods and kids that probably not so much so. So how do you deal with the challenges of ensuring that kids on different levels are
Mhm.
able to be educated and be able to, progress and move forward, even though they may be at different levels? How do you deal with that challenge?
It is very, very, very challenging. What I do a lot of is where I live, where I work right now in the school district. I actually was a child in that neighborhood, and I went back to the low income neighborhood to teach there. So I talk to them a lot about if I could come out of this environment and now I am your educator, I'm your teacher. Now I'm a professional, anyone can do it. And so we show them that no matter what type of environment you were born into, that doesn't have to be who you are. So it comes with a lot of life skills. I do a lot of life skill videos in class, just showing them the different walks of life. And then we still do what we call pals, but it's not a pen pal anymore. It's over the internet. So they get to see the way other people live in different cities and different countries. And what do you aspire to be? So if you aspire to be a doctor or a lawyer or a veterinarian, whatever it is you aspire to be, let me put those things in front of you so you can see what that looks like. And let me show you how people that came from the environment you're in are now working in those professions. So it just comes with a lot of life skills and life training to open up their eyes so they can see that it is there. You can go outside of this neighborhood. You can move outside of these walls and actually be great in
Oh,
what it is you want to do. And it's outside of just being, having sports. Because oftentimes they only believe their way out is if they can play a sport or be an athlete. And with those life skills, they learn that there's more to it than that.
okay. Do you find it difficult to get them to really grasp these life skills? We have aspirations of seeing the athlete and the actress and the actors on television. How is it that you go about getting them to understand the importance of having that secondary plan that may associated with their purpose? Are you able to connect the two to get them to run after their purpose more than something that they see on television?
Well, oftentimes I have to reach back to those actors and actresses and those athletes and show that they have degrees. They actually do have a degree. A lot of the hip hop artists have gone back and gotten their degree. Why? Now they're trying to move forward. So I introduce them to those people, as far as on paper and on video, and show them that, hey, these people may be in this environment, but they also had to still reach back because now they're using it for a greater purpose. So a lot of literature, a lot of reading, It does take quite amount of time because being in junior high, they're pretty, stuck sometimes where they are, and they've got their mindset on what they want to do and where they want to go and why, and so you have to do a lot of undoing that thought process, and that comes with a lot of reading in the classroom. There is a site called Flocabulary. And so Flocabulary is a site where they learn, but it's through music. So it's relatable. So once you put something in front of them that's relatable and it speaks their language, they're able to break it down and believe that it can be reality.
Wow, that's beautiful. I've never heard of flow. What's it called one more time?
Flocabulary.
Vocabulary. I'm gonna have to look at
Mm-hmm.
that. That seemed very interesting. Just like you said, just being able to relate the two. Now, as it pertains to parents, do you find it difficult to get parents involved with their children as far as understanding, what we need to do in order to get their kids to, I guess, headed in the right direction? Is that a difficult area as far as the support system from the parents?
It is extremely. It's extremely difficult. I have to do a lot of building relationships, and those relationships start at, you know, from the summer when they drop off supplies. Really introducing yourself, telling your hobbies, telling them a lot about you, and just inviting in conversation. And so, building the relationship though is what opens up the door for me to really communicate how important it is that they are involved in their students' education. Because the biggest part about it too is not only do I have to build that relationship with the parent, I have to build that relationship with the student, because the student is who's going to get the parent to come into the school. Oftentimes, it's not just us. I can call and contact and I can do all of that. But if that student begins to show the importance and the need and the want for their parent to come, then that influences their parent and gets them to school.
Wow, so you build like a partnership almost so between you and the student in order to get you what you need as far as getting the parent involved.
Yes.
Wow, that is a man, that's a great plan, a great process. And it's like a three-part cord, as the Bible talks about. You have the kid, and then you have the parent. And when
That's
you're all working together, then you can build something that's successful as it pertains to the kid. And that is what it should all be about. So let me ask you this. Pertaining to COVID-19, and with the school system, we all working from home, how has that drastically changed what you started off with when you went into the school system at the beginning of the year when we wasn't dealing with the pandemic, and what we're dealing with now and what you're going to be entering in as it pertains to the new year? Have you thought about that and what the new year is going to look like?
Yeah. You know, coming into this new phase of educating, um, the students really disengaged a lot. So, dealing with the disengagement, dealing with trying to reach out and get them to reconnect was very challenging. And so, because of that, many students have fallen behind.
Wow.
Students learn in different ways. You have your visual learners. So if you're a visual learner and the only type of learning I'm able to give you is through the computer, it becomes very challenging for you to learn. Some students need to be in the classroom. They need to have the one-on-one interaction and instruction. Some students are textile. So when your only option is to type back through a computer, it becomes very challenging for you to learn. And it's not that you can't learn that material, and it's not that you aren't intelligent enough to learn the concepts, but it's your learning style. So dealing with the different learning styles, and now there being a gap in that, many students just don't want to engage because it's uncomfortable, or it's not as inviting, or being behind that screen allows students to also hide. right? You don't have to turn on your camera. You don't really have to turn on that microphone. So everyone's disengaged. So getting them engaged, getting them accustomed to the virtual style of learning, even though they're online every day, right? Because they're on social media, but they can be whomever they want to be on social media. Whereas in the classroom, they're 100% themselves. So the challenge is getting them re-engaged. And now with going back into a learning environment, what is that going to look like? Many students have different options. They can come to school or not come to school and just do it virtually. They also have the option they're thinking about, which is you do 70-30. So 70% at school, 30% online. So many of my students, after spring break and the pandemic happened and the schools were closed, they never logged back on. So we're going to also have students who have not been in class since March when August comes. And that's a very long time to not be in school. So many hurdles to, jump over to get them caught back up. To get them caught back up on what they didn't finish last school year and now get them back on track for the new year in the midst of the chaos. Um, yeah.
Oh, that is a lot of great information that you definitely gave us. So how do we go about getting them engaged? Just trying to think outside of the box because this is new to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone wants to know, okay, how do I get my son, how do I get my daughter engaged? Where you have parents who are working, have
Mm-hmm.
parents, have a full-time job like myself. I work from home and my wife, she works from home. And so it's like, it makes it difficult to, ensuring that our kids are doing what they're supposed to do. So how do we go about getting them back engaged? Have you thought about ideas, thinking outside of the box of what we possibly could do to make sure that they're engaged?
Well, one thing for sure is it's going to have to be a lot of communication and a lot of parental involvement and routines. So communicating with the teacher, hey, I work during these times of the day. My student will be on, but I'm going to work with my student from 8 to 9 p.m. at night because that's the time I'm going to be able to work with my student. So really setting up a schedule and a routine at home.
Mm.
That's going to be the first thing. The second thing is going to be accountability. So I've really thought about linking up families. So that would be those students. So if I link up my students in groups of 5, it's now they're in project mode the entire time we're doing virtual at home learning. So they're in their groups and everyone's grade depends on each other. So locking them together and making them all accountable, that means that they have to talk, they have to work on their assignments together. So that means that they've got to connect. So if I can get small groups to connect and know that we're all depending on each other and making that understandable to the parent, hey, your student is in a group. And so they're each other's accountability partner. And they have to work with each other to make sure that those assignments get turned in. Well, it sheds a whole new life for that parent because, oh goodness, my child's portion is important to his overall grade in this group of students. And so that's what's going to get those parents involved because now it can't just be, well, something is going on with my computer, or we heard so many different reasons, or because my charger isn't working, or because I can't log on at this time. Now it's you have 4 other people to help you become accountable. So if you don't have what you need, now you can call someone else and you all have to work this thing out together. So the accountability, the partnership, the communication is what's going to help get all the students as well as their parents back engaged, so their students can get back on track.
Wow. And as you were sitting there talking, I was thinking the benefit of that as we're dealing with, the excuse me, race relationships that we're struggling with today with, dealing with the police officers, all these different aspects. This
Mhm.
starts at a young age to teach us to work together as a unit, as a family.
Right.
So I really love the idea and definitely the concept that you're introducing to the parents. I really love it. Well, let me ask you this question as it pertains to burnout. How do you prevent from burning out? Because you have so many different beautiful ideas and wonderful concepts of what we should do. So, and it seemed like it requires a lot of you. And I've had conversation actually with a friend of mine on yesterday to where she's completely burnt out. She's getting out of the educational
Mhm.
field, its totality. She's looking to leave. So how do you
Mhm.
prevent yourself from something that you love doing from getting burned out?
Oh, a lot of self-care.
Mm,
A lot of self-care. And when you feel yourself at the edge, you have to pull back. You have to take a day off. You have to reset, reflect so you can restart.
mm.
So the R's is what keep you going. Reset, reflect, and restart. And so that's what I do. So normally every month I reflect on my R's. I have to take off so that I can relax. Then that helps me reset. Now I can restart. Because if you do not disengage to relax and just reset and do some self-care things, whether that is reading. I exercise a lot. So exercising helps me because now I'm off work. I can just completely let go and, push it out in the gym or walk or running or whatever. And so now I can restart for the next day. But you absolutely have to do self-care
Wow.
frequently. Yeah.
And like I said, it's more, I guess, mind over matter. You have to
Mhm.
find out the things that are important to you in order to allow those things to restore you and get yourself back on track. So, also looking at the education field, what do you think teachers need most? If you can say, okay, this is the one thing that I believe most teachers need to help them be successful, what would you probably say that would be?
Um, Teachers absolutely need support. We need support. And there has to be a real world view of education. Um, the representative that we have right now for education does not have a real world view of the populations of students that teachers service. It's a very broad view as to what this country really looks like as far as education. There has to be a lot more funds invested into educational programs in the inner cities to help build the relationships and the environment and have the resources that students need in order to grow and develop. And that starts as early as pre-K. And now we have pre-Ks that start at 3 years old. So at 3 and 4 years old, if you're already lacking the resources in the schools and in those environments, then they grow up and they continue to just be filtered through the system because they did not get the support that they needed. Um, there are just so many educational like arts that are also missing in schools. The arts get especially those students in the lower income environments engaged in learning because it gives them a new desire and a new want to go to school. If you get this grade, you're able to participate in now these activities that you want to do in school. So it's different incentives that those resources provide for the students. And as far as the teacher's perspective, it's the support. A lot of times we really just lack the support and the resources needed to educate. Um, the world is virtual right now, and there has been a huge shift in education from when I first started to now. Students, their attention span is about a max of 10 minutes. So you have to have the resources, the virtual resources, the technology in the classrooms to feed their brains. They're going 1,000 miles a minute. So sitting and reading a book now, in the classroom is just very difficult to do because it's not quick enough, it's not fast enough, the information is not right there, right on hand. So now you need to give them both at the same time. So now you give them a book, but then you give them the visual aspect of that book to go hand in hand, and it keeps them engaged. So it's just those resources and the support that the teachers need in order to just keep going and keep thriving in this field.
Okay, and I can understand. But I was always confused about this. I know when as it pertains to the lottery, because from my limited education that I have, as it pertains to this, from my understanding, I thought that the lottery was supposed to be, the funds were supposed to be partially designed in order to support the teachers. So I have always been confused as to, with all the money being invested into the lotteries, why aren't the teachers receiving what they need in order to help them be successful? It always blew my mind that what happens to the money?
Yeah, as far as that goes, from what I know, there isn't a lot of money that goes from the lottery into the education. It's still based on the resident taxes. And that's where a lot of the money comes in to schools. So you don't really hear anything anymore much about the lottery system and it going back into education the way that it should. And now, the way that the money is divided up, there's only so much money allotted to each entity. So there's so much money given to the sports and the athletic departments. And then you have so many funds for resources, and then you have so many funds to pay your educators and your leaders, and it's just broken up in many, many different ways. So all the money you would think that would come in for all of the resources, a lot of times it's broken down into 3 and 4 parts to pay other entities within the school district.
Wow, that is interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot of politics involved. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of politics. Well,
Yeah.
my sister, I am so blessed and honored for you to just be able to sit down, have this conversation with me. I was wondering, is there any, parting thoughts that you want to provide to us on what we can do in order to really try to jumpstart this, or as making our educational system better for our kids?
Well, first, thank you for having me. This was just a wonderful opportunity. So I appreciate just even being able to be a part of this. The education field needs really more educators who really have a passion and want to serve, because this is hard work, but it's heart work. It's 100% hard work. And so if you aren't heartfelt in it, then you aren't going to be able to give out the heart that these students need in order to grow. We need the vote. We need people to go and vote. Vote for the right people in the right seat to continue to lead this country in education. You know, our votes matter. Our voices matter. We need parents to go to the school board meetings. Go to those meetings and voice your opinions. Voice your concerns. Send emails when you don't understand something. Make appointments. Go to your child's school and sit in the classroom. With Rona right now, you can log on and be on in class virtually. So while your student is on online, you get online with that student and see what it is they're learning, what they're doing. Reach out to their teachers. Ask, how can you help? What resources are you needing? So even if you can't physically provide the resource, you can reach out, talk to the community liaison that's connected to the school and work with that community liaison, and that's how we get more resources. That's how we get our voices out there. Because most of the time, the community liaison was a parent of someone that attended that school a long time ago. And then they, became a volunteer and just learned the politics and went from there. A lot of times that's how your community liaison starts in your school. So we just need all those things: the vote, the communication, the getting involved, going to the school board meetings. That's what we need. And that's how we become a voice for change.
Awesome, awesome. My sister, I want to thank you for definitely pouring your heart out into this interview. I look forward to future conversations and putting things together in order to better assist our children. Again, God bless you. Love you, my sister. Appreciate
Thank
you, and I
you.
look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Thank you. Love you. God bless.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.